And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, another edition of the PondCast, your weekly talk show, your weekly update news show here where we go over all things StarCraft. I'm, of course, just VIP. With me, I'm joined by Kuro, the lead producer of the show, and of course everyone in the chat as well. Welcome one and all to the new edition, the latest edition of the podcast. Let's go. This week it's going to be a little bit lighter when it comes to news. In a sense, there's some big events that have been wrapping up for sure, and of course more events coming up in the future. One of the big things, of course, is RSL. We won't be discussing it too further, but RSL is going to be beginning this week, and next week we can start going over some of those results, of course, as well. We already went over the precursor, went over the initial overview of what is coming up with the Revival StarCraft League. But more importantly, we have a big announcement to make. If you were here a couple of days ago, yesterday even, if you were here yesterday for our cast, you would know that there was a massive donation to the CranKy Ducklings, an anonymous donation of 2,000 USD. And it was huge. It was massive. Much love to said anonymous donator. We of course are going to be making use of that, and we're going to be turning that 2,000 USD into a bunch of monthly tournaments, into 4 500 USD events. That is the plan. Here we go. So something that we always wanted for the Sparkling Tuna Cup, which is our weekly open tournament, which has been growing very steadily over the past couple of years. I'm really proud of its growth, especially over the past year. Specifically the past year, like it's grown more than ever before. Like it's really shot up in terms of support, in terms of popularity, viewership as well, of course. We're very thankful for those that do tune in and do support the Sparkling Tuna Cup. But for those that are curious, Sparkling Tuna Cup was always designed kind of to be the replacement or the successor, the unofficial successor of Alima League, right? Alima League was a weekly tournament that was crowdfunded via Patreon. It was the most successful crowdfunded tournament in the history of StarCraft for a very, very long time. I still believe it still holds that, even with more crowdfunding coming into play nowadays. And it first started with weeklies, and then eventually it grew to the point where monthlies were a thing, where players would acquire points throughout the course of these weeklies to be invited into a monthly finals. We haven't necessarily grown to that. The goal, of course, was always for the Tuna Cup to grow to that size and to be able to achieve that on its own as well. But with this very generous donation, we have decided to push forward with that and to create monthly finals for the month of September, October, November, December. 4 months to wrap up 2025 with some monthlies for our Tuna Cup. So we have our regular weeklies, of course. We have 3 weeklies every single month. And through these events, points will be awarded to players, and they will be invited into that monthly finals with a 500 USD prize pool for each one. So that is the plan. Also, because we're essentially removing a weekly and we're adding the monthly at the end of the month, it means that the money that we typically raise through Patreon for that weekly is going to be distributed amongst the other weeks into the other 3 tournaments. So the prize pool of the remaining Tuna Cups, the weekly Tuna Cups, are going to be boosted, and then of course we have the monthly as well. So really exciting stuff. I'm again very thankful to our generous donation to actually allow for these monthlies to occur. And it's a really nice way to wrap up the end of the year, to wrap up at least the year, for Tuna Cup 2025. Let's go. Of course, the Tuna Cup will continue, and after said monthly, we'll be going back to our regular weeklies coming into 2026. But for at least the time being, that is the plan.
I feel like this is also a good place to mention that we reached our goal recently. So starting in October, the Sparkling Tuna Cups will be boosted as well.
Yes. So we still have a greater prize pool for the Tuna Cups. We just recently achieved that as we recently got some more support on Patreon. So very quickly, if you enjoy our tournaments, if you enjoy the CranKy Ducklings and the Tuna Cups and SDOs and MSOs, and if you want to help us grow those tournaments organically as well, you can do so by supporting us on Patreon, as you can help us grow it and you can help us sustain said events for as long as we are, of course, able and willing to run them, and we have been for years at this point, for many years, and there's no signs of stopping, of course, so you can support us through that. And again, thank you so much to the generous donation. So we will have some Tuna monthlies coming up towards the end of September. True, true. This month will be the first month with a Tuna Cup monthly. Beautiful, beautiful. When it comes to other big news here for StarCraft, we have Wardi. We mentioned this a couple of times during the cast, but if you did miss out on that, Wardi, I believe, has gotten married. Let's go. I believe the wedding was yesterday, actually. So congratulations to Wardi, by the way. He didn't make a really big announcement or anything like that, except for the fact that during the Wardi TV on Monday, the start of this week, he did announce that was going to be his final cast before he was going to get married, before his wedding specifically. So that's all we know, of course. So I suppose between the 2nd and 3rd of September, he has been married. Now, of course, he's on a bit of a break, on vacation, on a honeymoon, I would imagine, spending time with his partner. And so, yeah, congratulations to Wardi. It's always a little bit surreal to see news like this, whether it's weddings, whether it's of course commentators or casters or players having kids as well, like Dark, for example, or another big one is Trap, right? Trap recently became a father. I say recently, at the start of the year, of course, as well. So again, much love to Wardi, best of luck, and I'm sure he'll be back to that StarCraft casting grind soon. TM. For now, though, is of course going to be spending some time away from casting. Well-deserved break. GG, well played. Congratulations to old mate Wardi. As that leads us into our next bit of news here for StarCraft 2 and StarCraft adjacent news. That is the StarCraft Evolution patch. The SC Evo Complete did receive a balance update. Now, I was a little bit surprised by this. We'll be going over the StarCraft Evolution Championship. We, of course, did cast the championship and wrap it up this morning. And because of that, I was not made aware of any kind of patch coming into it, because I was trying to avoid spoilers and of the like. But apparently, winding it back a little bit, the StarCraft Evolution League Championship has been running for the entire month, for the past couple of weeks, and the playoffs and the finals was this weekend. We just covered the replays this morning, but it was this weekend. This weekend were the playoffs, the quarterfinals, semis, and grand finals. And my assumption was we were going to be waiting for the championship to conclude and then taking the data from that tournament, taking the data from the games themselves, perceiving, how balance was looking amongst the best players in SC Evo, and then constructing a patch afterwards based on what was perceived and based on what we had seen and what we had observed during the event itself. Something that was kind of crazy that caught me off guard is apparently a patch was dropped a couple of days before the playoffs. That's insane to me. That's kind of crazy. It's like if we were running, I don't know, EWC, Esports World Cup, and then they drop a patch before the finals or before the final days specifically. So, yeah, a really, really, really weird time to actually publish a patch. I say weird time. I would say a bad time. It's just a bad time. I know why. It's kind of weird. So they decided to push through a patch just before the playoffs and the final days of the championship. And let's quickly go over what those changes were. Now, very quickly here, we do see, of course, this was published on the I think it was 29th. 29th of August. It was published on the 29th, and the playoffs were on the 30th. So the day before. the day before, baby. Yeah. And of course, we have a balanced patch adjusting bio for Brood War. We spoke about this before. It's becoming a meme at this point. It's almost like the bunker build time in SE2, where like every patch will be adjusted. Every patch, like Bio Brood War Terran, gets adjusted in some way. every time, every night. So first things first, Rax increased build time from 42.9 to 46.4 seconds, increased by 5 seconds. So increased Rax build time for the Rax for Brood War Terran. Academy decreased build time of the Academy by 5 seconds. I want to say that in the previous patch, they actually worked on this as well. Did they revert the change? Hold on. I remember they wanted to adjust this specifically by doing the opposite. Sorry, just trying to double check. So they increase Rax, they decrease Academy. Yeah, it was... They reverted the changes. Okay, interesting. So... For those that are curious, August 14th was 1.16.3. In the previous patch for August 16th, they increased the Rax build time to 60 sorry, they decreased it from 65 to 60. And here they reverted that. They increased it from 60 to 65, so they reverted that change. And for the Academy, they increased the build time from 30 to 35. Here they're decreasing it from 35 to 30. So they they reverted their previous change for the Rax and Academy. Let's go. Hold on, I do want to keep that open actually. Curious. Meanwhile, we did have the Marine decrease build time from 17.9 to 17.1, so decreased Marine build time by 1 second. Interesting. So now they pump out a little bit faster. Decreased build time for fire bats as well, also by a second, and decreased build time by medics as well, also by a second. Okay, interesting. Hearing their rationale, in patch 1.16.3, the build time of the Rax was decreased to provide a marginal increase in Brood War Terran's ability to ramp up bioproduction in the mid and late game. However, this was ineffective as the change had essentially no effect besides saving a few seconds. Moreover, it sped up builds such as Proxy 3X Marine, which we have been trying to discourage. The alternative of buffing the production time of bio units directly was overlooked due to concerns about bio strength. Although this change was once implemented a year ago in patch 1.7, it was reverted in 1.11 due to the strength of Stimpack timings. However, with the Marines attack period and Firebat's HP and Medics heal energy efficiency all nerfed into moderation, we can finally implement this alternative method of buffing bio. Overall, these changes should help ease bio play in the mid and late game. So it sounds like the purpose of this and the reason why they're targeting this is mech has been very trendy with Brood War Terran. It looks like they're trying and hoping that they can increase the efficiency and increase the rationale as to why a player would try to get into bio. By increasing all of this, they want to try to push more bio play in said mid to late game. It's interesting that they kind of went back on a change and went back in. I mean, they said themselves here that they felt like it didn't really do what they were hoping for, which I think is a good thing. I think it's a good reason. Once again, though, I do think it's a negative thing that they're doing, that they're implementing this patch before the playoff day, which is kind of with that's still just wild to me. that's crazy, man. That's crazy. Let's go down. Spider-Man. Increase AoE damage zone radii. 100% zone 1.375 to 1.5625, 50% zone and 25% zone all increased. Okay. Recent changes of the Spider-Man activation radius from 2.75 to its original value of 3 was a much more significant nerf than anticipated. Now enemy forces are rarely damaged by mines unless move commanded past them. This has resulted in the effectiveness of Spider-Mines dropping substantially. I'm pretty sure this is in reaction to the fact that units are able to destroy the spider mine before they are able to be activated, essentially. Even when they're spread out in huge numbers, they do not serve as an effective deterrent against ground units. This reversion of the spider mine's AoE damage zone is intended to restore the impact of the few spider mines that do manage to connect with their targets. Okay, so they're buffing the mines just because they were mainly seen as a deterrent more than anything, and even then, barely. Interesting. Dropship increase movement acceleration from 1.49 to 1.93. Simply another incremental buff to the dropship's utility. Okay, making it faster. Which I don't necessarily is a negative thing. Obviously, it's one of those things that you have to be careful when it comes to buffing the mobility of Brood War units and then the Brood War races. Of course, one of the big downsides is meant to be their immobility, which at times you might argue is too much. So especially just because of how fast SC2 races are in general. So compensation there has to be made at some point. To try to help with that sort of thing. So they have decided to increase the acceleration of the dropship. Zerg changes. Hydralis. Decrease muscular organs research time by 10 seconds. Decrease Group Spine's research cost and decrease Group Spine's research time as well. Quite significantly, actually. The cost is 25 cheaper, but the time here was decreased significantly here as well. Lurker, decreased attack period from 1.65 to 1.56. Okay, interesting. These are some big changes and some big buffs, I would say. You could argue that this doesn't really matter too much coming to the playoffs because of the lack of Zerg. True. After the Hydra and Lurker nerf in 1.16.2, particularly restoring the Lurker's gas cost of 125 and lowering its HP to 125, Broodwar Zerg seems to be struggling against SG Protoss. Attempting to play a straight defensive macro game seems difficult at this time. Rather than simply reverting these nerfs, we would like to point the matchup in a different direction. Similar to how ZVP plays out in Broodwar, we would like to open up more opportunities for Broodwar Zerg players to be aggressive with Hydras. To this end, we have reduced the research time of muscular augments and groove spines down to their Broodwar values, and slightly reduced the cost of groove spines as well. Okay. Combined with the attack period nerf last patch, we expect these changes to have a manageable impact against SG2 Terran and SG2 Zerg. These changes come with a correction of the Lurker's attack period to its core value, which should also prove to be helpful against SG2 Protoss. Interesting. This does seem pretty huge. It does seem pretty huge when it comes to like Hydra power spikes as well when it comes to the upgrade timings, which is going to be quite big, especially in ZVP and ZVT, I feel. Maybe in ZVZ as well. I mean, it'll affect all matchups just because Hydras are a pretty essential core unit. I mean, sure, like Spire and Mutaplay is a little bit more applicable and is a little bit more viable for Broodwar Zerg in certain instances. But yeah, this is going to be pretty big. It's going to be pretty big. Once again, just to reiterate, we have been a little bit out of the loop and a little bit out in the meta when it comes to covering StarCraft Evolution. Yes, we have been covering the championship, that is true, but we missed out on some of the SC Evo bi-weeklies and some of the show matches as well. So we have been consuming a little bit less StarCraft Evolution than we usually did in the past. So once again, I have to kind of like take them at their word when it comes to like what certain matchups kind of need and what we're looking for this. Interesting. Nidus Canal. Increased build cost of Nidus. Interesting. Increased build time, decreased load time, increased spawn, Nidus Canal duration as well. For the last few patches, the Battles team has been looking for ways to reduce Broodwar Zerg's advantage in the ZVZ matchup. Avoiding excessive attack period buffs to the Zergling is a good start. They were messing around a lot with the Zergling previously, but it's clear that SG Zerg remains disadvantaged in many aspects in the matchup. Moreover, any changes to Broodwar Zerg targeting this matchup must not hurt its performance too much in the other matchups. We have a number of planned changes in the works, but many of them are ambitious and not suitable for a patch in the middle of a major tournament. I like how they're addressing it here. I would say that a patch in general is not suitable in the middle of a major tournament. so I like how they even said it here, but they're doing it anyway. Okay, cool. Those changes will be pushed in a minor update next week. Interesting. For now, we are making a number of changes to the Nidus Canal. The build cost, build time, and duration needed to spawn the exit Nidus Canal have been fully reset to their Broodwar values. This will help SG Zerg in the late game against Broodwar Zerg, particularly when they are trying to maintain an airtight defensive stance. Moreover, the Nidus Canal has had its load time halved. In Broodwar, units are able to load into the Nidus Canal essentially instantly. We're concerned about balance implications. This is a weird one. It's weird because I feel like they should have just pushed everything out together next week, to be honest. Or I guess this implies this week, actually, now that the championship has concluded. It's weird because this is a phase in the matchup that we don't see. At least I don't see. It's of course we're probably seeing this more like in custom games or like on the PTR ladder. But yeah, Nidus play and late game ZVZ is quite rare. Which is a problem, which I'm sure they're gonna hopefully address. But from what we've seen, especially in the StarCraft Evolution, not just even in the championship, but just in general in ZVZ, typically it's very intense, much shorter games. Sometimes we can get into the mid game, which is really cool. I think there's a reason why I always look back on Shin vs. Dark ZVZ from SE Evo Season 1, because it's one of the few times where we actually got into the late game and we actually had a back and forth, and we had like Hydra Lurker Viper versus Guardian Devourer. Like it was crazy. But like it feels quite rare, and I'm sure that's something that they want to address. I'm sure they want to address that. I would imagine they want to address that with PvP as well. PvP right now also has a bit of an issue when it comes to proxies and when it comes to hyper aggression and cheese with proxy double robo. which we've seen quite a lot of throughout the playoffs of SE Evo, of the championship. So yeah, there's definitely like these matchups have to be addressed in some way. This feels like a weird change, but I'm sure it looks weird just because it's incomplete. Just because apparently like they have a bunch of other things that they want to do to the matchup, but they're opting to save that for this week. So that's why this change feels a little bit weird. It feels a little bit out of the blue that isn't really addressing much of the issue. But I'm sure that's what's going to be coming up next in the next patch. I would hope, at least. I would assume. So interesting. Up next, Protoss changes. Shuttle decrease HP from 120 to 100. Interesting. In patch 1.16, the shuttle had its pickup range decreased. It's true, in order to differentiate it from the War Prism. At the time, we believed this would result in shuttles finding themselves in grave danger more often, as we increased shuttle HP by 20 and plasma shields by 10 to compensate, as well as allow for other players to make riskier plays at their own judgment. However, the adaptation to a lower pickup range was faster than anticipated, and we have seen the overall level of shuttle play continue to climb, especially with Reavers. It now appears that defenders against shuttle Reaver play simply do not have reasonable means to deal enough damage to the shuttle to shoo it away, so we are adjusting the shuttle's HP back to its previous value. I think this is definitely something delicate that has to be handled. It has to be handled in a delicate way, just because shuttle play and Reaver play is so ingrained in Brutal Protoss. It's an opener and it's a build that we see in every matchup, in PvZ, PvT, and in PvP as well, if we can get that far in PvP. So this is, yeah, so I feel like this is something that has to definitely be taken care with, especially because it's also one of those things where we have seen it do really well. That is true. We've also seen it kind of fumble. A lot of it also depends on the skill level of the players, like, that are engaging with each other. I don't know if, like, say, Classics games are the best games to really look at, just because his opponents aren't necessarily like at his level all the time. So like things can sometimes look a little bit more, they can sway a little bit more in his favor, like visually, and they can look more impressive than they really are. But overall, I think this is fine. I don't think this is going to impact like a player like Classics play, but it's going to definitely hurt maybe some of the lower Protoss players, which is maybe what they're looking for, or some of the lesser Protoss players, to punish them a little bit more. For those that like maybe have a harder time controlling their shuttles, or have to like dedicate more time and attention to controlling their shuttles. So I think overall this is probably a good change. Overall. Corsair, oh my god. Decrease build time from 35 to 31, or 25 to 22.1. Increased movement acceleration from 5.8 to 8.7. Increased movement turning rates from 1050 to 1400. Okay. Interesting. The Corsair's role is intended to be cheap and fast first responder to airborne threats. I wonder if this is a reaction to Rebellion's game where he went mass scout and he got shut down by mass muta. Curious. Corsair's role is intended to be cheap and fast first responder to airborne threats, such as the Banshee and the Mutalisk. However, due to its slow production time of 35 seconds, StarCraft II's Phoenix takes just as long, can reduce more quickly with Chrono Boost, and poor maneuverability, it fails at this role. It is especially concerning that the Corsair, which was the quintessential counter to Mutas, struggles so much against the SE2 Mutalisk. Interesting. We have seen in the past that simple buffs to stats like weapon damage and range have had adverse consequences, and this is especially true of the Corsair, which is a powerful splash damage unit in large numbers. Initially, this is in reference to the fact that they did nerf the Corsair's splash damage previously. I mean, they nerfed every unit's splash damage previously. Initially, we were planning to give the Corsair a similar treatment to the Valkyrie, decrease its build cost and build time. However, considering the stats overall, particularly its damage, vitals, and lack of armor tag, it is difficult to justify decreasing the gas cost of the Corsair to less than 100. We've also seen in previous patches that a simple damage buff to the Corsair would be problematic. Therefore, in addition to build time decrease, we have augmented its movement acceleration and turning rate, allowing skilled players to get value while kiting away from enemy Mutalisks. With this change, a critical mass of Corsairs can be obtained more quickly, and even a small number of Corsairs can inflict much more damage on a flock of mutas than before. The build time alone also serves to improve the Corsairs' viability against other air units, such as Banshees and Medevacs. I feel like this is one of those things that you have to observe it over time, specifically just because of the increased movement acceleration and increased turning rates. Like, these are really big changes that do allow these Corsairs to be much more microable, of course. Is it too much? Is it too little? This is where we have to see it in action against Muta play, and to see just how hard they shut down mutas. If it's too much, if it's too little, like, this is probably something that just has to be observed over time, and we're probably going to see like another adjustment to the Corsair after this. But yeah, interesting. I don't think I'm opposed to decreasing the build time of the Corsair, just as that reaction. I would also hope that in the mind of other players, this puts the Corsair in a better light, just so they're more willing to go Corsair instead of Scout as a reaction to mass muta. Looking at you, Rebellion. God damn it. Yeah, this is wild. This is a wild patch to throw down before the playoffs, especially the shuttle change. Like, we spoke about that, but like, yeah, the shuttle change, the bio changes as well.
Right. I just want you to know, right now, literally 3 minutes ago, the patch 1.16.5 dropped.
Well, let's go. Time to find out what the follow-up was gonna be. Okay. Here we go. You shouldn't talk about until it's confirmed and happened. I'm not too sure what you're referencing. But here we go. We have 1.16.5. Let's go. Well, I mean, okay. So quickly wrapping up our 16.4 thoughts. Again, it was crazy that this was made before the playoffs. It's insane. To drop the patch. Did it impact the playoffs? It's definitely possible. When it comes to the strength of spider mines, dropships, I mean, of course, Tasia was playing mainly mech. He rarely played bio, especially in the finals, so you could argue that this maybe didn't really impact him too much, or as much as it would have if he was a little bit more biocentric. But yeah, crazy. I don't know why they couldn't just wait a week. Just wait a week, papi. Speaking of, now it's a week later. Bam! New patch. New patch notes. Here we go. Okay, from the top. New models and arts. Missiles Heart. Okay, we get a new turrets model. Nice. We get new icons as well for upgrades. I did notice that we were missing some, so it looks like we've gotten some more here. 7 new custom icons have been added. It is always nice to see. Shout out to Box of Randomness for making the art as well for all the upgrades. Changes to StarCraft II races and SE Evo complete. Oh. Wait, what? From the onset, okay, this is interesting. From the onset of SE Evo complete, it has been one of our design principles to maintain the StarCraft II races as they are, rebalancing only the brutal races to ensure that StarCraft II players know what to expect from their races. Today we are breaking that rule. This is kind of weird. I understand. I was gonna say I understand why, but at the same time, so right now we're in a really weird place with StarCraft where we're expecting a patch soon, TM, and right now there's a lot of discussion in the community when it comes to what exactly a patch should bring, what changes should be made, and that's I feel like that's what a lot of discussion is about when it comes to certain matchups and certain races. And that's why we're getting certain like mod tournaments, like the patches mod tournaments, the green art mod tournaments. Pig's making videos, Gabe is making videos, right, discussing the potential changes to be made to StarCraft 2 and what should be done there. I think one of the benefits of SC Evo is that if they didn't have to worry about balancing StarCraft 2, they can focus on their mod, they can focus on their side of races, and I would argue that maybe it makes things a little bit easier when it comes to how to balance and how to approach things, that they don't have to be too concerned with the other side. Of course, the downside is that does have certain limitations, especially if you perceive there to be an issue with the other side, like say the Cyclone, for example. or the strength of the NG overcharge, for example, as well. These are issues, these are problems. I think most, if not all, people in the community do agree with that, and they expect changes to be made for that as well. I don't think I like the idea of StarCraft Evolution coming in and making those changes, just for the reason that was just stated here, in the sense that that things are going to be getting weird if the StarCraft 2 side of things is different depending on what tournament you're playing in or depending on what mode you're playing in. So this is this is an interesting one. And we'll see what the changes are. Personally, I think I'm against it, but we'll see. Patch 1.16.5 includes a change to a StarCraft 2 units. However, we do not do so lightheartedly. We recognize that this opens up the floodgates for potential changes in the future, so we are drawing some boundaries to ensure this potential is not abused. As mentioned before, keeping the StarCraft 2 races unchanged enables us to introduce StarCraft 2 players to SSO Evo, keeping in mind we are following these guidelines when implementing changes to the StarCraft 2 races. Interesting. Changes must be minimized in quantity. Fewer changes to remember, the better. Okay. Okay. Changes must be minimized in overall impact on balance. Hinging the balance of the mod on changes to SC2 is risky because the future patches to SC2 would require us to recalibrate the game's balance, not only with changes to brutal races, but also by revisiting changes to StarCraft 2 races as well. I would agree with that. That's a reason why it shouldn't be done, but sure. Changes must be buffs, not nerfs. Okay. StarCraft 2 players trying SC Evo Complete for the first time will be burdened by nerfs, but do not need time to adjust to buffs. Rather than nerfing something belonging to StarCraft 2 races, we would instead look for ways to buff a brutal unit or structure to address the problem. Changes must be tightly scoped. All else equal, a buff that affects all matchups is less desirable than several buffs that each unambiguously affect only one matchup. Changes must be addressed relatively uncontroversial opinions such consensus among top active players. Okay. Okay. I wonder what the cutoff is for that. The top active players. Interesting. Although relying on changes to SC races is not ideal, following these guidelines will ensure that any changes of the sort benefit SC Evo Complete, not harm it. That will also prevent runaways, scope creep, and ensure that future changes to SC races, if added, are precise. I feel like I feel like the quote unquote guidelines are hella vague. They are insanely specific. Like, it'll be okay because like it's gonna make things more precise. I did not get that impression at all. But sure. I understand that that's the hope and that's the idea, and I think we would all hope that's the case as well. But interesting. Okay, brief notes. They still have the ongoing confusion thing. To faster speed, normal speed. Cool. Terran changes. Okay. BC is also a bit of a meme, kind of like the bio for Brutal Terran, where it's also been changed so much over time. Brutal BC. A decreased build cost from 400-300 to 375-275. Increased movement speed from 2.62 to 2.8. This can be faster. Increase ATS laser battery attack damage from 36 to 36 plus 8 versus mechanical. Likewise, the ATA laser battery attack from 36 to 36 plus 8 versus mechanical as well. Okay, interesting. Bearing in mind that these are going to be direct buffs against. Specifically, it's meant to be in TVT against like other mech armies, mech units, and also TVP as well. As I don't think StarCraft Evolution delineates between mechanical and robotic, like Brood War would. I think it's all mechanical. Decrease amount of gun research time from 80.4 to 71.4. Decrease amount of gun NG cost from 125 to 100. Decrease amount of gun cast range from 12 to 10. Decrease amount of gun projectile range from 25 to 20. Okay. So the decrease in the range, but they're going to be also buffing how cheap it is when it comes to energy. Likewise, they're going to be reducing the time it costs to research. Going to be buffing it against other mech armies or other Protoss Skytoss armies, for example, as well. Going to be a little bit faster. Going to be cheaper as well. Let's hear their rationale. Jesus. Okay. As part of our efforts to ensure every unit has a place in SEVO Complete, we are revisiting the Battlecruiser. Following a period of drastic buffing and nerfing, I like it's very meta, but yeah, as we mentioned, like it is a bit of a meme, like just how much they have touched the Battlecruiser in SEVO. There has been a lot of buffs and nerfs to it. Battlecruiser is now occasionally employed in late game scenarios against SE2 Terran, and especially SE2 Zerg, but it's not particularly powerful against SE2 Terran, nor unique in playstyle from other options against Zerg. Moreover, it is practically useless against Protoss, keeping in mind the role of the Battlecruiser in Brood War as a line breaker in TVT and a harassment unit in TVC, as well as to its current weakness in SEVO Complete. We have prepared a number of buffs for the unit for this patch. If you recall, I did mention previously how I don't think it's necessarily bad to make certain units a little bit more mobile to compensate just how, in general, immobile Brood War races are. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to be doing that here to the BC. First, to improve its general accessibility, the cost has been reduced. Movement speed also increased, allowing it to traverse the map, but without the aid of its SE2 counterpart's tactical jump ability. These changes alone should enable its occasional use in openers against SE2 Zerg. Interesting. I don't think that's a bad thing. Allowing for more options when it comes to build openers, I think is good. I think this is one of the biggest weak points of SEVO at the moment, is that there aren't that many builds, there aren't that many openers for a lot of the races. I think that should be one of the big issues that they should be looking to approach and tackle, is just the limited amount of builds currently available and currently viable amongst the players. So I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a bad thing. Moreover, to enhance its line-breaking utility against SE2 Terran and overall power level against Protoss, now deals additional damage versus mechanical. As we mentioned, like this is for versus Terran versus Protoss. Potential choice of 44 base damage against mechanical units allows the Battlecruiser to kill probes in one attack. Oh, Jesus. That's crazy. Okay. That's kind of crazy. While still needing 2 attacks versus SCVs. Lastly, Yamato Gun's energy cost has been decreased from 125 to 100, although this unfortunately renders Colossus reactor research somewhat less meaningful. The energy cost of 125 created an effective cooldown of nearly 2.5 minutes. We felt this not only was too long from the perspective of the unit's power, but also diminished the fantasy of using the Battlecruiser. To preserve healthy range interactions with other units without harming its line-breaking capabilities, Yamato's cast range projectile range has been reduced. Cool. So, interesting. Only the one change, but this is also kind of like added on to the previous Terran change from the previous week. So we had a bunch of changes to the Bio Army and to the Spider Mine and now to the BC as well. Next, Zerg changes. Evo Chamber. Increased build time. Okay. Increased build time on the Evo Chamber. Decrease attack damage from 20 base damage to 15 plus 5 versus mechanical. I guess specifically this is going to be targeting its uses in ZVZ. So something that this is targeting and something that we've spoken about before is that specifically in ZVZ, the SE2 Zerg player would almost never go Muta, and they shouldn't go Muta just because of how Scourge works, how Scourge interacts, and again, typically because you're typically already going into Hydra play to begin with when it comes to the Brood War Zerg player. So this is going to be, I guess, helping with that a little bit, but I still feel like you're not going to go Muta against Brood War Zerg anyway. But sure. Spire increase Flyer Carapace level 2 by 50-50. Sorry, 25-25. Increase level 3 as well. That's by 50-50. So upgrades are now costing a little bit more. Hydra, decrease. Wait, hold on. What was the previous patch? Hold on. Decrease group spines research costs from 125 to 100. They made it even cheaper. So last week they changed it from 150 to 125, and now they went further from 125 to 100. Okay, so they just keep going. Okay, fair enough. Increase lurker aspect research cost from 150 to 200. Again, as a reminder, you have to research lurker to be able to make lurkers. They're increasing that, increase lurker aspect research time from 57.1 to 75. Oh, okay. That's a pretty big change. that's pretty huge. That is going to nerf lurker timings. I know that there is I want to say it's a 2-base lurker all in. That can be quite devastating. So I guess they're going to be removing that. This is going to force players to stay on a Hydra Ling a little bit longer as well. So they're going to be creating just a big kind of, I don't know if I want to say bottleneck, but a big barrier when it comes to getting into the lurkers. Which I don't know if is a bad thing, but okay. Mutas decrease second bounce attack damage fraction by 50%. Sorry, from 50% to 33.33%, and decrease the third bounced attack damage fraction from 25% to 11.11%. These are some pretty big damage nerfs to the Brutal Muta. And the Spore Crawler. Okay. So this is the first change to SC2, I believe. SC2 Spore Crawler. Increased damage from 10 plus 10 versus biological to 10 versus 20 versus Jesus. That's huge. Now, when it comes to this change, obviously this is in regards to ZVZ. So was the previous Spore Colony change as well. Something about ZVZ is that Brutal Zerg Brutal Zerg going into 2-base Muta is a little more viable. It is stronger for sure. So this is a pretty big buff to the Spore against Mutas. Okay, interesting that we have a bunch of ZVZ targeted changes. I'm curious as to what's prompting that. This is the biggest set of changes in patch 1.16.5. Further reworks to ZVZ. So coming into ZVZ, the current matchup here, is this addressing any of the problems with ZVZ? It does feel like a lot of these are targeting Muta play from both sides, I suppose. But I would argue that right now, based on what we've seen, one of the big issues is we're not actually getting to longer game states. We've seen a lot of all-ins, a lot of hyper-aggression in ZVZ, like more so than usual. There's reasons for that, partly just because of how different like Zerglings are, sure. Another reason for that is just the maps themselves, right? There's a little bit of RNG when it comes to finding your opponents, when it comes to figuring out how your opponents are opening up. I think people have been expressing how, in ZVZ, just open pool first for the SC2 Zerg player, and then you'll be safe against that sort of thing. But we have seen a lot of aggression. We have seen a lot of Muta play as well, true. I guess this is addressing that to try to force Hydra play. This might just kill Muta play, but we'll see. Top Zerg players who play SC Evo generally agree that Brutal Zerg is unquestionably favored in the matchup. Not only that, but the particular strength of the Brutal Mutalist severely limits the variety of play that is available to SC2 Zerg, who must either Baneling Blast or attempt to turtle until some timing attack, or indefinitely into the late game. We saw a lot of Bane Busts. That's what we saw. We saw a lot of Bane Busts, we saw a lot of all-ins to attempt to deter 2-base Muta. But yes, we did see a lot of 2-base Muta in the championship, for sure. Even if Mutas do not deal direct economic damage, their map control prevents SC2 Zerg from attacking or taking additional bases, buying time for them to safely transition into lurkers. At this point, SC2 Zerg runs out of practical options. There is no room in the matchup for SC2 Zerg players to express themselves as being not only more skilled than their opponent, but also other SC2 Zerg players. Okay. Okay. No room. True. Even though in previous versions of SC Evo Complete, Brutal Zerg had weaker options in the matchup. Right, I glossed over it, but like, we'll get into it. But so the Spore Crawler change is huge, true. The bounce damage, this is going to impact every matchup. This is huge. Muta, I mean, you could argue that we didn't really get to see much Muta play against Protoss. Very niche, true. You wouldn't often see it. Against Terran, sure, I guess you wouldn't often see it either. Okay. I mean, I guess they could always revert some of these changes, and they've done that before, if it's too far. Brutal Zerg has been favored in the matchup ever since Zerg players discovered walling off into 2-base Muta, which is to say almost the entire post-release history of the mod. Okay. It's a weird comment, but sure. Therefore, we believe rather drastic changes are needed in order to fix the matchup, which reduce the relative power of Brutal Zerg's key tools in the matchup to lower than it was in any previous version of SE Completes. Considering the strength of the mutas, it's also now readily apparent against S2 Terran that the first step is clear. We did see that a little bit as well. We saw like 2-base muta against Terran, like shut Terran players down. I think we saw that maybe one series against Tasia, maybe. I might be thinking of Shin. Might be. Oh no, sorry, Rogue. That's it. I think we saw that with Rogue's matches. So their change here is to nerf the muta. Next, the Evolution Chamber now takes longer to build, making Brutal Zerg Warlofts against S2 Zerglings more prone to destruction and increasing the burden on Brutal Zerg players to spend resources and attention on defending. I don't know if we want to do that. One of the side effects of this, I mean, they're already going to be deterring 2-base muta play anyway. Adjusting the Eva Chamber on top of that as well is just going to make it more difficult to play 2-base, period. Which maybe they just want to get rid of 2-base play in general as well. In addition, in exchange for cheaper group spines, lurker aspect research has become longer and more expensive. It has. This follows up with our Hydra change from patch 1.16.4 and completes our vision of how we expect Brood War Zerg tech to branch out going forward. Hydras themselves are cheap and fast to come online, freeing up time and resources for alternative tech options. In exchange, Brutal Zerg players must leverage Hydra's timing as well, and switching directly from lurkers into other tech or vice versa is even more costly, further reinforcing mutual exclusivity between tech branches and playstyles. Okay. This aligns with how the Hydra's upgrades work in Brood War. Since cheaper Hydraless tech can create tempo advantages against S2 Terran and Protoss, but not S2 Zerg. Buffing Hydras does not benefit Brutal Zerg in this matchup, and lurker switches after mutas will become more manageable for not only S2 Zerg, but also S2 Terran. Interesting. I mean, this is another big change in the sense that it is a big change to what SE2 Zerg is, right? SE2 Zerg is known for being a lot more malleable, a lot more flexible when it comes to how they can tech and how they can be flexible with their armies and with their compositions. Here they're just straight up saying they don't want that out of Brood War Zerg. To further discourage Spire play from Brood War and encourage it from SE2 and ZVZ, Spore colonies now deal less damage to biological targets, and Spore crawlers now deal more. This buff to the Spore crawler in particular is particularly important because as StarCraft II's patch 5.0.14 decreased their HP while increasing their base damage to compensate, but not their bonus damage against biological targets. Okay. Interesting. Is this too much? Is this too far? As they pointed out, so they're nerfing the Spore colony, they're buffing the Spore crawler, they're nerfing mutas, they're buffing hydras, they're nerfing the Spire when it comes to the upgrade costs, and they're also nerfing the Eva Chamber. I don't think I'm too fond of the change to the Eva Chamber if they're doing everything else. I'm not too fond of it. Nerfing the muta overall. It looks like they also want to target ZVT. I don't know if we've seen enough ZVT games to justify that. I'll be honest. Just maybe it's because I'm limited in how many ZVTs that I've seen where players have gone into muta. Because the only games that we saw muta play in ZVT and StarCraft Evolution, in StarCraft Championship, did go heavily in favor of the Zerg player. That's true. But like I would hope that this isn't a knee-jerk reaction to that. That's my hope, is that there are other examples of this happening and Terran players are saying that they cannot deal with the Brood War muta, so it's prompting this change more so than seeing like 1 or 2 series where this happened. That's my hope, at least, when it comes to them addressing ZVT and then straight up nerfing the muta. But yeah, like all of this compounded with each other, I'm pretty sure this will just kill muta play in ZVZ. which I mean is the goal, right? I guess it's the goal. They just want to kill it, which is maybe fine. It's also possible that maybe they still. It's also possible that, you know what, this could be the new the Bioterran thing, where they nerf the hell out of Bioterran and it doesn't stop them from just going 3x stim timings and just winning games anyway. Like it's possible that they push through all these changes and Zerg players that still just go 2-base mute and still win anyway. It's possible. Let's go. I'm here for it. But yeah, this is very much so targeted changes, heavily compounded upon each other to shut down mutaplay. Interesting. Protoss changes. Dark Archon. Decrease mind control research time. Increase mind control cost range. The units possessed using mind control no longer consume supply. This is just mind control more. That's what. Okay. Interesting. We get it. They want to increase like the likelihood of Protoss players using this ability and using this style, and having this be an option. Cool. Scout. Increase movement speed. Decrease anti by 4.38 to 4.46. Decrease anti-matter missiles attack period from 1.07 to 0.98. Decrease gravitic thrusters research time, research cost and time, 150 to 100, 64.3 to 57.1. Decrease gravitic thrusters movement speed bonus 0.87 to 0.79. Movement speed after gravitic thrusters is unchanged. Okay, so we have some big buffs to the scout. I hope this isn't based off of Rebellion. Movement speed of the scout has been slightly increased to allow it to better fill its scouting role. But this also enables the scout to escape from enemy defenders more consistent. Scout is also another meme where it's been touched so much, so much throughout the course of the history of SE Evo. Let's go. While this also enables the scout to escape from enemy defenders more consistently, it is still slow enough to ensure that it is capable of chasing down its units like Stimpak Marines and Cyclones. We've also reverted its anti-air attack period to its patch 1.15 value, so that was a reversion, after seeing its anti-air power was weaker in practice than expected. This makes me think that... So for this, I keep making reference to it. Rebellion had a series in the championship where it was... I think it was on Neo Isles of Siren, where he went mass scout. He went mass scout against mass muta, and the scouts got destroyed. That was that was a big moment in that event. I would hope that, yeah, it's gonna be stuck in my mind just for all eternity. It's crazy. With the base movement speed of the scout already so high and capping the maximum speed of the scout to be in line with that of the other fastest brutal units, Gravitic Thrusters has lost much of its effect, so we have reduced its research costs and time to reflect this accordingly. Okay, interesting. Arbiter, decrease build time. And that's it, outside of some bug fixes. Okay, overall, I mean, the biggest changes here are the Zerg changes, of course. And then again, it is very targeted when it comes to just getting rid of mutaplay. I don't think that it's necessarily... It's hard to be too critical of some of these changes because we just revert so often. If they go too far in one area, like there's just every other patch, like we're reverting something anyway, so it's fine. It'll be interesting to see for sure how things change. I think the biggest weakness of StarCraft Evolution, we've spoken about this before, is how few tournaments there are. Is the biggest issue. We've had these big discussions before talking about how it's hard to really get a gauge on the state of the game and on the state of the meta because of the smaller player base and because of the lower amount of tournaments that there are being run at the moment. I say at the moment because, for example, Kung Fu Cup is on hiatus, right? Kung Fu Cup is on hiatus. That used to be another like regular SE Evo event that we could embrace.
Actually, speaking on that, I just noticed that there is a monthly Kung Fu Cup on Wikipedia right now. Just saying. It's not announced yet, but something is coming back.
Sure, but that doesn't change what I just said because it's been on hiatus this entire time.
Yeah,
And even
yeah.
if it comes back, you're saying that it's going to be a monthly instead of a bi-weekly or a weekly. So that adds to what I'm saying, right? That there aren't a lot of tournaments when it comes to featuring SE Evo. Yes, we have the bi-weeklies and we have sometimes like a King of the Hill. Sometimes we have an SEL Masters, which is like a show match series. Shout out to Enki. Enki's been hosting his tournaments. But what I'm getting at is that because of this, it's again like the amount of games, at least that are publicly available, are quite limited. So it can be very difficult to get a gauge on what is an issue, what isn't an issue. I think they've even spoken about this before when it comes to just the caliber of player as well. Because hey, Terran might be doing really well because Björn is playing, but hey, Classic isn't playing in the tournaments. He isn't playing regularly in like the weeklies, for example, or there isn't like an equivalent Zerg player that's at that level that's competing either. Before it was Dark, true, but he's retired. Shin is also very inconsistent with how often he plays in tournaments. Rogue, he was invited to S Evo the championship, but is that indicative that he's going to play in other tournaments? Not necessarily. So it can be quite difficult to like judge and gauge, and that's always something to bear in mind when it comes to this sort of thing. So I don't envy those that are working on the patch, on the notes, on the balance of the game, just because there are so many of those factors that create these caveats that have to make you question, like, is this too much? Is this not enough? We just have to work with what we have is the issue here. And I said this before, but my hope is that especially now that we're in the off season of EWC, that we're able to promote and push more of these tournaments. Not just these tournaments, but just modded and team games in general. I think that right now is a really good time for, hey, 2v2 as well, right? Like Uthermal's 2v2 circuit was very successful, and we should be seeing more of that in the future. And it would be really cool to see him invest a little bit more into maybe even balancing 2v2 a little bit. I mean, they've already done it in a sense where, for those who don't know, for that 2v2 circuit, they actually all play on a mod which denies resource trading. Resource trading is denied for a longer period of time to stop that from happening, to reduce and to deny certain builds that would take advantage of resource trading in 2v2. So they just play with a mod that takes that away, right? And they can just do more with that. We have TLMC on the horizon that's going to be updating the map pool for team games as well. That's going to be a big moment for Uthermal and for the 2v2 scene, and for the team game scene as well, to revitalize that circuit and to host another one as well. So whether it's 2v2s, whether it's team game tournaments, whether it's other modded tournaments like Warcraft 3 Evolution, true, or whether it's StarCraft Evolution, or whether it's other modded tournaments like the Patch Clash, and which we're going to be going over later, or the Green Earth events, or other mods. Now is the time, because now players are more willing to devote their time to playing something else because we're in the off season, right? It's like so many players. I think we spoke about it for Spirit specifically. Spirit, he was so active in SE Evo, and then when EWC was announced and the circuit was announced, Spirit, he stopped playing. like he took a big step away from StarCraft Evolution for good reason, right? To focus on EWC, to focus on StarCraft 2. A lot of players did, but now that we're in the off season, like now is the time where they can start to devote more time to tournaments, to mods like this. But the events don't necessarily reflect that. And hey, we might see more modded tournaments like pop up as a result to take advantage of that. Time will tell. Time will tell. But I feel like now would be a good time for that sort of thing. So, of course, best of luck. Best of luck to those working on StarCraft Evolution. Still really weird to see to see the patch released in the middle of StarCraft of the championship. That's I'll say just that's a negative thing. I don't think I agree with the idea of. I don't even know if it was necessary. Looking back at this, they were talking about how, like, okay, now was a big step, a big moment for us to step in and to make a change to StarCraft II and their targeted changes to the Spore. Seeing all the nerfs and all the targeted changes to the Muta, I don't even know if that was necessary. Like, if we're reducing like the Muta's like damage output with the bounces, if we're reducing the costs, if we're doing the Evo Chamber change as well, like, yeah, it's interesting. But regardless, like, we'll see. And again, as we mentioned before, like, reversions can always occur anyway, and they could always like walk some things back, push some things forward again. GG. I'm sure we'll be seeing some more changes in the near future as well. I concern this mod when have the arcade ladder. I know that they are in the works with that. I don't know if that's something to be concerned about. I think the question that's being asked is there is a beta version of the ladder for this game. That is true, but it's still in beta from my understanding. But I'm pretty sure they're actively working on it. So I know that unfortunately, it takes time, right? Unfortunately, it does take time. They have a limited resources, they have a limited size when it comes to their team to making that sort of thing. So I do agree in the sense that I think it's important. I think it's an important aspect to be able to open up the mod to allow players to actually compete. Right now, it is so tedious to play the mod, to join the Discord, to do custom games with other people when you just want to hit that ladder. You just want a ladder with StarCraft Evolution, and the fact that there's no easy way to do that is discouraging a lot of people from playing the game.
We actually had Kat in chat literally last night saying that they are actively working on the ladder, and it's not going very fast, also because the arcade is still having issues, like the publishing and stuff, like only certain accounts can publish and stuff like there are still ongoing issues that make it a bit more complicated than usual.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't think there's any concern when it comes to whether or not it's going to be released. For sure it will be. It's unfortunately it's something that does take time, and the hope is that it doesn't take too long to the point where hype for the mod dies down, and then by the time it releases there are even less people that are interested or willing to play it. I would hope that they're able to, like, everything will still line up well, and yeah, best of luck those working on it. But yeah, with that, that was the patch notes. Again, I would expect to see more changes soon, just because I'm sure it takes time to kind of digest all the matches and digest what occurred during the StarCraft Evolution Complete league, during the ESL season 2 championship, to digest all of that and to find any issues that they have. I mentioned something before that actually wasn't addressed here, was PvP. I do think that there is an issue with PvP at the moment. If so many of the PvP games during that championship ended so quickly just because of proxies, the threat and the power of proxy robo. We saw so much proxy double robo in that tournament. It was prevalent throughout the entire event, and I'm sure that they're looking at that and they want to change that in some way, shape, or form. So I think the PvP definitely is in a rough place. And StarCraft Evolution, I would say the same about ZVZ as well. I think TVT is okay. I think TVT is probably in the best place, when it comes to mirror matchups compared to any other mirror matchup currently. But I think this is something that the team is aware of for sure. Yeah, I think that's definitely something that has to be addressed. and they're doing so in their own way. I mean, hey, this patch, for example, was targeted to ZVZ for the most part. Otherwise, I believe we have one more announcement that's going to be wrapping up our discussion on StarCraft Evolution, at least. But up next, we do have a big announcement for the RSL. Oh boy, so we do have the Revival StarCraft League offline event. It looks like the plan is not to have an offline event for Season 2, but for Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3, all to build up towards one big offline finals in December of 2025. So very, very big news. I don't think we have details yet. It looks like details will be announced next month in October, but I'm sure we're looking forward to what the format is going to be and where the finals are going to be held as well. Is it going to be an in-studio finals? I think that is the plan. One of the reasons why they did rent the studio space is to actually have a place where players can come in and actually compete and play amongst each other and actually create content in the studio. So I would imagine they probably want to make use of that. Otherwise, they might take it a step further. Depending on the support that they're getting on Patreon, they might be able to justify, renting out an actual venue for something like that. A smaller venue, most likely, but a venue nonetheless, to host the end of year finals for RSL. So really, really big news here for RSL. I know that RSL they've been going under a lot of scrutiny when it comes to where resources are being invested, how the Patreon money is being split. There's a lot of ambiguity and there's not a lot of transparency when it comes to that, which I do think is a negative thing for sure. I would hope that they would address that in some way, shape, or form, and I don't think they have. But hearing that, hey, they do plan on having the Song 5 finals, and you can even see here that, hey, they're going to be paying for travel and accommodation for the players as well. I mean, that's where, now we can say that a lot of the money is going into that as well. So, yeah, I do think this is a good thing for sure. It's building up towards something greater. It gives more reason and more hype to the RSL seasons, and RSL Season 2 is beginning tonight as well. It's already started, I believe. Has already begun. So definitely another big thing to look forward to. And it means we have another big event for December, and we gotta open up our schedule and change everything because of that. I know Kira's looking forward. She's like, oh great, another event in December. Let's go.
Look, at some point you just give up. It's like, every week my family comes to me and like, yeah, so what's your plan for like this month, this week, this next few X amount of time? I'm like, your guess is as good as mine.
Just always assume non-stop StarCraft. Let's go. So yes, another event for December. So that's another event to add to our calendar. Lovely. But regardless, exciting and hype nonetheless for the Revival StarCraft League, as that leads us into our tournaments. We probably should have spoken about this first, to be fair, but it's all good. We got there in the end. The SEL, the StarCraft Evolution League Season 2 Championship did conclude this weekend. We actually covered the event ourselves this morning via replays, but the event did conclude. It was big, it was massive. We already went through the round of 28, but now we can go over the round of 16 and the playoffs as well. Coming into Group A, once again, this is for StarCraft Evolution. This is a mod that does bring together Brutal versus SE2, and we just went over some of the patch notes regarding the mod itself, regarding changes that are going to be coming up. A lot of it specifically targeting ZVZ, but also some changes for some Protoss, some Terran units as well. But here we have Group A. Group A, we had Tasia, Mana, Shin, and Mixu. We had a solid lineup, of course, and this is where we had the first big upset. So coming into the SE Evo scene and coming into the SE Evo Championship, I was looking at 3 players. I was looking at 3 players to potentially win everything. I was looking at Classic as the best Protoss, I was looking at Bjorn as the best Terran, and I was looking at Shin as the best Zerg player. In the aftermath of Dark retiring, he kind of left a void when it comes to top Zerg players in the mod, and I feel like Shin and 3-Point are 1 and 2 respectively. Maybe you can make an argument for them to be interchangeable, but I do rate Shin higher than 3-Point, at least currently in SE Evo. But here, Shin did not make it through. He did not make it out. He did not make it through. Mana instead knocked Shin down 3-0. It was a very, very impressive showing there out of Mana. Again, you can never count Mana out. We've seen Mana take down Clem. We've seen him take down Max Pax. Here, he takes down Shin in a different game mode, in a different game mod. But Mana, he always has it in him to take it to the best players in the world. Like, you can never count him out. And even in SE Evo as well, never counts out Mana. Here, he still got it, but he still got it. Does come out in second place alongside Tasia. Both Shin and Mixu are eliminated. And that was a big, again, upset just to see Shin go down that early. Next, we had our TVZ group. Also, I should mention once again, Tasia has been, I feel like we have to say this all the time, Tasia has been competing in SE Evo for like 2 months at this point, has been competing quite a bit, has been improving quite a lot, and starting this week, or last week, he started playing in StarCraft II tournaments as well, so it's been great to feature Tasia in purely SE2. He competed in our weekly Sparkling Tuna Cup, and he also competed in Wardi TV Monday as well. So, more recently, Tasia started competing in SE2, and again, for a longer period of time, he's been competing in StarCraft Evolution. So Tasia, he's back. He's back, at least temporarily. Meanwhile, Group B, we had Bjorn, 3-Point, Gumiho, and Top, or Kiwian. Here, this is also one of the groups that features a player that I was really curious about seeing and how they would compete. That was Gumiho. Gumiho is one of the players that was invited that doesn't really play much SE Evo. Gumiho, Cure, and Rogue. Those are the three that come to my mind that don't really play SC Evo. That's my expectations were quite low, or I just didn't really know what to expect because they have so much inexperience. I don't blame them for being invited. Basically, there were some big Korean names that were invited into the event that didn't have to qualify because they're big Korean names, and it's a good way to kind of like indoctrinate them, right? To invite them, to have them experience SC Evo. And the hope would be that they would enjoy the experience, that they would enjoy it, that they'd be interested in it and more willing to play again in their own free time, and also to compete in regular weekly tournaments as well. So this is like a strategic move to like invite these top players and to hopefully kind of like hook them, right? To hook them in, to make them more regulars. So that was Cure, Gumiho, that was Rogue, and also Creator technically as well. But Creator, he did devote more time to competing and playing in it. I will say that. But Creator was the other one. So because of that, we didn't really know what to expect. Gumiho, I would say that it was really unfortunate. He had some really unfortunate showings. He was heavily reliant on SC2, 100%. Like, his Brutal Terran was definitely lacking. Was lacking compared to Björn, was lacking even compared to Kiwian as well. So yeah, he had some shaky performances here, despite the fact that he is renowned in StarCraft II, in StarCraft Evolution. There's definitely room for improvement for Gumiho. He still had a really, really close showing. He took down 3-point initially, and then went to the ace match against 3-point. So that was very impressive by Gumiho. He has some really unique styles and really quirky play. If you look at the group itself, you can see a forfeit. Unfortunately, Gumiho had some very shaky internet and was lagging out quite a bit. He was lagging out quite a bit throughout the course of the group, and for the very final series for Gumiho versus 3-point, Gumiho actually went to a PC bang. He actually after his Beyond series, he left. He went to a PC cafe nearby to be able to play his final series, which also means that he had like a worse experience. This reminded me of what happened in KSL at the beginning of the year with Dark. If you remember, Dark versus Hero, the finals of KSL. Dark, he was also having, I say internet issues. I think the power went out. I think the internet or power went out in his apartment complex. So he actually had to pack up. He had to pack up and go to a nearby PC cafe to play in the finals against Hero. And he got like 3-0'd. But he played like the dedication out of Dark, to go to a PC cafe to play in the finals of KSL. He said himself afterwards that it was that he played really poorly because there was just noise all around him. There were people walking by. He didn't have his keyboard and mouse. Like, he was playing with the PC cafe's keyboard and mouse, and obviously different setup, different everything. So he was not playing at his best at all. But he still played. But he still played nonetheless. So shout out to Dark for doing that. Did lose in the finals against Hero, but went to the effort of doing that for. To put on a show for the tournament, for the people. Here, Gumiho did the same thing, and here he popped off as well. Is there a world where Gumiho beats 3-point if he's able to play at home? Probably. But regardless, it was a close series nonetheless, went all the way to the ace match, and 3-point did make it through over Gumiho. Kiwian also had a bit of a lackluster performance here. Went to the ace match against Björn, went to the ace match against 3-point, but Kiwian barely didn't make it through. GG. GG well played. 3-point and Björn to advance on out of Group B. Coming to Group C, we do have Classic, Cure, Honmono, and Rumieth. I definitely had some higher expectations for Rumieth, for sure. He was definitely looking quite good leading into this. Cure is one of those players that's I didn't really know what to expect. And looking at his matches, Cure, he was struggling with Brood War Terran. He was heavily relying on SE2 Terran. heavily relying. And in the end, like, Cure, he was able to make his way through the group. He was able to clutch it out against Honmono. He was able to clutch it out. Honmono was hyper aggressive and hyper cheesy, as we expect, which means Honmono, he has certain limitations when it comes to what kind of play he can bring to the table. So once players get an idea for how he plays, it can be very difficult for Honmono to actually like get better results and achieve a little bit more. So Classic and Cure did make it out of Group C. Then we had Group D. Group D, we had Rogue, Creator, Spirit, and Rebellion. And Similarly, Rogue, he also relied quite heavily on his SE2 play, to make it through. He had some okay Brood Wars Rogue play as well, which we were able to feature a little bit more in the playoffs. But Rogue, he made it out of first place, and Creator in second. Creator, to me, he impressed me the most. Like, Creator, he did devote a lot more time to learning the game. He was playing in some show matches and some weeklies ahead of time. So Creator, out of all these players, out of Rogue, Cure, Gumiho, and Creator, he's the player that played like the most SEVO, and I feel like it showed. He was looking quite impressive. He did still go down to Rogue, but did come out in second place, and despite the performances, like, he impressed me more than Rogue did, for sure, in Group D. And with that, we had our top players. We had Tasia, Cure, Rogue, 3-point, Bjorn, Creator, Classic, and Mana making it into the playoffs. When it comes to the playoffs here, I said it at the time, I'll say it again here. The seeding was really unfortunate. Seeding was very unfortunate here. The fact that Bjorn and Classic, they landed on the same half of the bracket, as opposed to being spread out a little bit more. In my mind, at least, Bjorn is the best Terran player in StarCraft Evolution, so for him to not have a chance to play against Classic was a bit of a shame. And he went up against Creator in the first round, and they had a really solid series. Like, Creator versus Bjorn was a lot of fun, was very back and forth, and Creator, he barely edged it out over Bjorn. Really, really impressive play there by Creator. But it is a shame that Bjorn never had the opportunity to play against Classic and to play against any of the other players in this tournament. Like, Creator played so well, and yeah, it was a quick end for Bjorn, unfortunately. So Bjorn got knocked out early. Rogue versus 3-point. I mean, ZVZ, there were a lot of issues in ZVZ at the moment, and I feel like this kind of showcased that a little bit as well. Tasia versus Cure. Once again, some of this play, I feel like the playoffs, unfortunately, they did kind of, they were plagued with some of the issues that we mentioned before. How Cure and Rogue, you could definitely tell that at times they were like kind of freestyling a little bit, or they were playing a little bit blind, in the sense that they are less versed in StarCraft Evolution, and it showed. I will say that. Like, it did show there. So Tasia, he played solid, he played well. He took down Cure, took down Rogue. You could definitely argue easier opponents for Tasia, though. Like, he took them down, and again, Rogue and Cure, they were definitely lacking in the Brood War side of things. And even against Brood War, the Brood War races as well, just because they're a little bit less familiar with how certain unit interactions work. It felt like that was very apparent. At least from covering those matches, it did feel more apparent than some of the other series and some of the other matchups here. But Tasia was able to make it through over Cure, over Rogue. Classic took down Mana 3-0, took down Creator 4-1. Classic looking very strong against both Protoss players. We spoke about the issues plaguing PvP at the moment, and that was kind of compounded here in the Classic series, just because they were really fast, really intense, and they were just played by proxies. A lot of proxy, a lot of cheese, a lot of short games between all those players. And then we had Classic versus Tasia towards the end. Classic, he already did have a best of 9 against Tasia previously. I think there was the Enki Epic series where Classic did take down Tasia. Here, they had a rematch like a month later, and Tasia was looking pretty good. It was looking pretty good. It was great to see mech out of Tasia, mech with his Brood War Terran, mech with his SE2 Terran. We saw a little bit of bio play as well. Not too much, but a little bit of bio play. We saw a lot of diversity here. Classic still proved to be the stronger player. And again, he came out as he was coming in as the favorite player to take it, and Classic is our champion. Congratulations! Classic is the Season 2 champion. GG, well played. I think just to pique my own curiosity, I would love to host a show match between Classic and Bjorn. I might just poke Enki about it. I might be like, yo, next epic series, Classic and Bjorn, have them face off, baby. Or even Creator versus Tasia. True. Wait, I think we already had that. I think I know that we were already featuring Creator as well in some of the other show matches. But yeah, I think it'd be really fun to have them face off and make that happen. It is a bit of a shame that, again, the upper half of the bracket was plagued with players like Cure and Rogue. But what I will say is that, hopefully the plan worked, and hopefully they get lured in and we get to see more of Cure and Rogue and Gumiho as well in some of these SE Evo tournaments. Like, that is the hope, right? That's the overall goal. That's the hope, that their interest is piqued and they get kind of dragged into the fold and they're able to enjoy more of SE Evo in other ways than just this tournament. So that is the hope. Regardless, congratulations to Classic. A shout out to Tasia for having a very strong performance. Despite the fact that Tasia has not been back for very long at all, made it all the way to the finals nonetheless. So really, really nice performance there by Tasia. GG. GG. We need Mana versus Tasia. Oh no. Not like this, baby. Not like this. But yeah, congratulations to Classic. And I don't know if there are plans to host another season of this year. It might just be an annual thing, right? The season 1 was 2024, season 2 2025, season 3 might be 2026. That might be the plan. Hard to say. Likewise, I can't say with certainty what's going to be the future of the weeklies, and whether they will lead into another league coming into early 2026. Maybe it comes down to Hyper One and what he wants and what he's planning and how he wants to bring this all together. So best of luck, as that leads into our next modded tournament that leads us into the 5.4k patch clash number 3. Again, patches, he has created a mod in the game, his own balance patch mod, which is crazy, by the way. Has some crazy changes with the Infestor, with the Infested Terran, of course, with Roaches getting an upgrade to be 1 supply. We got some crazy changes in his mod. Not the most balanced of mods. I think he said it himself, where he's like, there's a lot of weird stuff here. It's just for fun. It's just to test things out. It's like a sandbox sort of thing, not to be taken too seriously. And yeah, it's crazy. It's some crazy change. There's a lot of changes to the Ghost as well, true, with EMP, which I kind of like, to be honest. But yeah, just a lot of changes have been made. And it is a lot of fun. This event is limited to those that are 5.4k and below, so that is like low GM. Low GM players have been competing here, and here we had some of the notables. We had Inexorable, we had Geralt, we had Mixu as well, we had Xingming, and in the end we had Xingming actually claiming, or actually making it to the finals. Flexi popped off. That's impressive. Flexi, he took down Mixu, Inexorable, Geralt, and Xingming as well. That's crazy good. Este Flexi. Okay. Impressive play that Flexi. Coming back from the lower bracket, from deep in the lower bracket as well. Like he got knocked out very early and clawed his way back in. So very impressive play. No surprises to TBT. If you remember, we interviewed Inexorable after the previous patch clash, and he was like, "No, yeah, Terran is pretty insane in this patch. Like it's crazy, man. It's crazy." So, yeah, TBT finals, no surprise there. But regardless, really cool to see Flexi claiming the win, and I'm pretty sure Patches is adjusting the patch over time as well, taking feedback, getting rid of what doesn't work, changing other things as well, trying to adjust as best he can. Much love to Patches. Much love. And you can check out the balance patch mode as well. Again, it's very lengthy. It's a massive document and a lot of crazy changes as well. I do recommend it. do recommend it, baby. Do recommend it. Yeah. But otherwise, up next we did have our amateur events. This week's Amateur League Weekly number 137. Oh boy, again, this is a regular tournament that does have a tournament for every kind of set of leagues. Here we have the Initiate version, which is for those that are bronze, between the leagues of bronze and platinum. Here, unfortunately, some lower signups, but yo, we popped off. Ragnar versus DJ. Ragnar takes on DJ 3-2 in a best of 5. So really cool to see that we were still able to make a series out of that despite the lower signups. Well played here to Ragnar. Does claim another win. Not his first win in the Initiate series, and did go all the way to the ace match, so GG, well played. That leads us into the Veteran Weekly. This is for those that are between Diamond 3 and Diamond 2. Here we had some regulars. I do notice Choi Galaxy. Choi Galaxy did compete. A player that I'm not familiar with, Yurei Hao. I haven't seen him before here, but he does claim the win. He gets a 2-0 over Alaska, 2-0 over Mako. I do recognize 2-0 over Choi Galaxy and 3-0 over Choi Galaxy as well. So it's a dominant performance here by our new competitor. Doesn't drop a single map. GG, well played. Congratulations. That leads us into the Diamond 3 to Masters 2, the Prestige Edition, where we did have some of our regulars. I see Matrix, I see Set, I see Milka, I see Steez, Blade of Fire, Anadar. I think almost every player here has played in our tournament. But I see Blue Knights as well. So a lot. Defiance. Oh, it's been a while since I've seen Defiance, so a lot of regulars do compete here, and Matrix or Matrix does take down Milka 2-1 and takes down Milka 3-0. Big win here to Matrix. Very impressive. The Polish Protoss player does claim the win. GG, well played. Congratulations. That leads us into the Kirktown Chat Brawl. This is an impromptu tournament. I don't think there's ever like a setup for this. Like whenever Dave Testa feels like it, he just goes to his chat. He's like, yo, I'm running a tournament. He DMs a bunch of people and he just makes something happen whenever he can. So very impromptu when it comes to the chat brawls. But we had a solo lineup nonetheless. We had Folkster, we had Mute. Wait, we had Folkster, we had Mute, we had Patches. What happened here? Patches? He 2 on Mute? Hold on. hold on. Something's wrong. Something doesn't make sense here. I need to... Yeah. Okay. Now this makes sense. So for those that are curious, Mute is a top Protoss player, and you could argue the best Protoss player in all of Latin America. The best. He even beat Special recently. He beat Special in the Code for Giants Cup LATAM #1. Like Mute, he was looking crazy good. For Mute to go down to Patches, that doesn't make any sense. But I just checked. This is MR restricted, and they do allow off racing. So I'm almost 100% certain that Mute off raced. That Mute did not play Protoss. So we'll have to look into this. But I can almost guarantee that Mute did off race. I don't know if he played Zerg or Terran, but that would make sense as to how Patches beat Mute. Also, Folkster must have off raced as well. Matt did. You can see Matt is a Zerg pro. He's a French Zerg player, so he played Terran. Folkster, he must have played something else, because Folkster, he's like, what, almost 6k with his Terran? And this is meant to be MR restricted. So we're going to have to go into the VODs. We'll have to check the logs here for Dave's tournament, because I'm pretty sure that this is inaccurate. the Wikipedia race list here. So we'll have to double check even Patches. I'm pretty sure he's above 4.6k. So I think Patches was also off racing. So we'll have to check on Patches, on Mute, and on Folkster as well. So we'll fix that up. But regardless, GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to Folkster for claiming the entire tournament. Well played to Folkster. Well played. That leads us into the Chat Star League at number 39. Here we do have another MR restricted tournament. Quickly double checking here. This is for those that are 5.3k and below. So low GM 5.3k. Here we had Fienant takes down Inexorable 3-2, takes down Gref 3-2 as well. Very impressive. Inexorable and Gref, they are notable players. We cover them. They've got their own pages, of course, or at least they should. Yeah, they have their own Wikipedia pages. Fienant does not. Fienant, he's a newer face, and we have noticed Fienant in the Rising Star tournament. So really cool to see him popping off here. Very impressive and up and coming from Germany. You have my attention. To beat Inexorable and Gref, these are not unnotable players, so really impressive stuff here, and my eyes are going to be on Fienant coming into those Rising Star tournaments, definitely. And going to be looking to him. As that leads us into our regional events and show matches. Up first, we do have the Vortex, or the Vortex event. As this is an event organized and hosted by Aztecs. Let's go, the Hungarian Protoss player. What was going on here? As we did have qualifiers in a group stage.
Last time we went over the group stage and the show matches, but this week the playoffs have completed.
There we go. We did have the playoffs here. We had Nihed, Winter, PSZ, and Mosten. And from my understanding, again, Nihed or Nihed is the more well-versed player. But despite that, went all the way to the ace match. Nihed and PSZ went all the way to game 7 in their in the grand finals. So really impressive play there by PSZ. In the end, Nihed does claim the win here, but it was not easy.
I have a question. So do Nihed and PSZ are playing for the name in game, because they both using PSZ in game.
They are. It's very confusing.
It is extremely confusing. So,
aye.
So does that mean Nihed gets to keep it now because he won?
I would hope so. Maybe. But yeah, with that, GG well played. There was also a Legends show match as well. Breach versus Purple. Unfortunately, these are legends that I'm unfamiliar with, but I'm sure they're more meaningful to the Hungarian scene. So really cool to see Breach taking down Purple 2-0 on Metropolis and Metalopolis. Let's go. On some very old maps. So great to see. And again, congratulations to Nihed for claiming the win and for being our champion. Let's go. The Hungarian champion. Let's go, Bobby. Let's go. That leads us into Convergence Cup number 25. Again, this is a bi-weekly tournament for the Brazilian scene, and we did have some key players here. Once again, though, no Eric and no Inexorable and no Shakti, so we're missing some of the bigger names that we typically expect. But we did have a Kamikaze, we had Dorminoko, we had Master as well, and we had Ares. Coming into this, Master doesn't drop a single map. I mean, he is the best Protoss player in all of Brazil, arguably all of Latino America as well. Takes down Ares 2-0, takes down Dorminoko 3-0 as well. Big win for Dorminoko, though, because he took down Kamikaze. I typically favor Kamikaze over Dorminoko, so that is, I would say, an upset for our Zerg player to take it over Kamikaze. Very impressive play. GG. Still falls to Master, but I mean, Master, he was favored to win everything. Typically, who can stop Master? Players like Shakti, Inexorable, Eric. Like, those are the three that come to mind that can pose a threat to Master. Outside of them, he is a very dominant force in the region, and you've got to be one of the best to touch Master. So GG well played. Master does claim it. That leads us into the SE2 Friends Cup 2025 August. Okay. So we had a July edition previously. Now we have the August edition. This is a Chinese tournament, and it looks to be an open Chinese event, and looks to be a monthly as well. Okay, so we do have some notables here. We have Jolly Loves. We have a Chinese classic. Interesting. I don't think I've seen a Chinese classic before, but okay. We have Joliwa as well. I would have favored Joliwa coming into this, but Miggy pops off. Okay, impressive. Miggy takes down Joliwa Loves 4-3, went all the way to the ace match. I don't typically think as much of Miggy compared to like Young Zest or Joliwa, or Rewhite as well, or some of these other notable Chinese players, Chinese Protoss players. So for Miggy to bring him down is something that I wasn't expecting. Hold on. Yeah, something that I wasn't expecting. So very impressive play there out of Miggy. Does bring him down. GG. GG. Well played. Congratulations. As he is this month's SE2 friend. There you go. Wear that title well. Congratulations. That leads us into the Elpis Team League 2025 full preseason. Oh my god. We have so many team leagues in the Chinese region. It's crazy. But I love the custom art. Oh my god, look at that. We got Kerrigan, we got Raynor, and we got Artanis, I guess? Question mark. I don't know who the center is meant to be, but yeah, we got some nice custom art for the Elpis Team League. It looks very cute. I approve. I do approve. With this, who are our teams? So we have a team Astartes. Featuring Latte, featuring Latte. We have 4-leafed Clover, FLC, notable player being YRYF. We have Hist and Toss number 2, as it looks like there are going to be 2 teams. Bearing in mind this is the preseason, so it's possible that they might be in the main season. The main team, I mean. Code A. Code A does not have confirmed teams. Code S does have confirmed. Yeah, Hist, they're in Code S. Okay. So the main Hist team is in Code S. But here we have their B team, essentially. They have their B team. I don't really recognize too many players here, but regardless. Oh, it's a melding as well. Hist and Toss. Okay. Okay. We have Kauda. Where we have Ghost, we have Turn, we have Protoss the Best, where we have Ivy. We have Rookie Warp Gates as well. Oh, Pioneer, true. Pioneer is there. We have RWG, Rookie Warp Gates. Wait, they have 2 teams? Okay. We have Rookie Warp Gate and we have RWG. Lovely. So we have the main team, we got the B team, we got Starlight Twinkle team 2 with Xing Ming. We just pointed him out earlier, winning the Patches tournament. And we have a team that translates to... What does Google Translate give me? Chinese Expeditionary Force. Okay. Lovely. But yeah, this is the preseason, so some of the less notable teams are competing here and wishing the best. Looks like this is going to determine who makes into Code A and who makes into Code S. I mentioned before that Code S already has some confirmed teams. Very quickly, Code S has Elbis, has the Elbis esports team, has Hist, Little Fairy, Starlight Twinkle, Toho Project, and PCEC. So they have 6 confirmed teams, and the top 2 teams from this preseason event will also be seeded into Code S. Meanwhile, the remaining teams will be a part of Code A. I think what's important here is that none of these teams are going to be eliminated. Again, the losing teams get into Code A. The top 2 teams make it into Code S. So this is kind of like a seeding tournament in a way for the main season. Coming into this, we have Protoss the Best taking down the Expeditionary team. They take down Rookie Warpgate, and they're in the 3rd round. And they're going to be playing out in a couple of days. Okay, so best of luck. Best of luck. Right, I didn't even get to mention it. Coming into this, who do I favor? It's really hard to say. Some of these teams have some notables, like Turn or like Pioneer or like Xingming, but it's a team league and it's a team effort, and there are so many here that I'm just unfamiliar with, so it's really hard to place a favorite team coming into this. Some of these teams have larger rosters, have a little bit more depth, which is going to be useful, of course, but yeah, I can't say with any certainty who I want to favor coming into this. We have Astartes, they take down Hist and Toss. Kauda take down the second Rookie Warpgate team. We have Starlight Twinkle 2 taking down 4-Leaf Clover. And again, in a couple of days, we'll have the 3rd round, and that'll determine the top 2 teams to make it into Code S. Best of luck. Best of luck to our teams. I will say, unfortunately, there's no Team Super Kitty. There's no Super Kitty 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 in either Code S or in the preseason either. So that's a bit of a shame. Where is the Super Kitty? Smurge. But best of luck to all the remaining teams in the Elpis Team League. That leads us into the Sunrise Cup number 214. This is also a Chinese weekly tournament every single week. And here he is. Young Zest does pop off. He was missing in the previous tournament, but here he is. Jolo Loves goes down early. Oh, is that Deer? That's Nanyu. Okay, let's go. Nanyu takes down Jolo Loves, takes down Ear as well. We rate Nanyu very highly. I'll be honest, I thought Nanyu was a Protoss player. Am I crazy? I thought Nanyu was Protoss. Hold on, I need to double check here. But regardless, Young Zest does go undefeated. 2 0s and 3 0s. Young Zest is a very solid player. If you're unfamiliar, Young Zest, aka Potato is his other ID that he's known by. And my apologies. Yeah, for some reason, I thought Nanyu was Protoss, but no, he's Zerg. He is Zerg. So my apologies. But yes, Young Zest does claim the win at 3 0. So congratulations to Young Zest. Again, we do rate him very highly when it comes to these events. One of the stronger Chinese Protoss players out there, for sure. As that leads us into the Basilisk Big Brain Bouts number 100. We had some intense lineups here. Jesus. Typically we have some more kind of laid back show matches, but no, coming into this we had a GG Machine versus Eba. I don't know if that was a ZVZ. We'll have to double check that. Yeah, it wasn't. Eba played a lot of Protoss and a little bit of Zerg in that matchup. We had Eba versus GG Machine, we had Trigger versus Bunny, we had Rainer versus Classic, and we had Cyril versus Clem. Oh boy, we had some very, very high profile matchups in this week's Basilisk Big Brain Bouts. Typically we have like some more fun, some more laid back matches, but like every one of these is high profile. That's crazy. Like this was an insane. I mean, I guess it's number 100, so they had to pop off. They had to pop off for number 100, but they did not hold back. So in this, congratulations to GG Machine. He takes down Eba 3 0. Eba did play Protoss game 1 and game 2 and played Zerg in game 3. And GG Machine, he shut Eba down every single time. Meanwhile, we had Trigger versus Bunny. Trigger takes down Bunny 3 0. Trigger's been looking very strong and very impressive as of late. Bunny has been doing nothing but all-ins in TVP. That's what we've seen out of him, and Bunny has been struggling that much more. He's also been less active. So Trigger does claim the win over Bunny. Scrolling over Classic versus Rainer. No surprise here. Rainer, he has been lost in the Rift. ever since EWC. He's lost in the rift, and no one can find him. So Classic takes it 3-0. Classic does shut Raynor down, and that leads us into the main event: Clem versus Serral. Something that did not happen at EWC. Something that a lot of people were looking forward to. If you remember, Clem got shut down by Classic, so Clem, he was denied the potential of facing off against Serral. And if you remember in that interview, Serral, he did say that he was that he felt that if Clem was in the finals, it would have been a harder finals. he was definitely concerned. He was very relieved that Clem did not play against him in the finals of EWC. And here we see Clem taking down Serral 3-1. Of course, this isn't fully indicative of how that would have gone if they'd played. This is a different setup, this is a different scenario. We're like, what, a month plus removed from EWC, so both Serral and Clem have been playing less. They've both been on vacation. They're both, a little bit more laid back. Clem does take a 3-1 though. Impressive there. GG, well played. I mean, Clem, I would say, was coming in as the favorite player. But congratulations nonetheless, and really cool to see them facing off so soon after EWC as well. So really, or like relatively speaking, I should say. So really cool to see them. Really cool to see them agreeing to show up here for the show match. GG, well played. But again, really high profile with Clem, Serral, Classic, Raynor, with Trigger, Bunny, with Ebat, of course, high profile, baby. Crazy. All the big boys, baby. All the big boys. GG, well played. That leads us into the Open Cups. Oh boy, so this leads us into Lily Cup, the monthly finals of 2025 August. So Lily Cup is a new weekly tournament that did begin last month, and it does have these monthly finals. Hey, we're about to ourselves as well, but we have weeklies into monthly finals into this big invitational based on the performance of these players throughout the course of the weeklies that were invited. And here we had an intense lineup. We had Maxpax, Trigger, Hero, Björn, Cure, Rogue, Classic, and Hero Marine. Again, we had a stellar lineup here for the Little League Cup, and we had, I would say, some crazy results. First things first, Trigger. Big upset. Trigger, he took down Maxpax 2-1. Maxpax, he was favored to have a deeper run in this tournament, but he gets shut down early on. Hey, Trigger, he just 3-0'd Bunny. Now he 2-1's Maxpax. Again, PvP can be a little bit more chaotic, especially with Maxpax's new approach to PvP as well. He has stopped going for the quote-unquote Maxpax opener and started going for these more aggressive builds instead. But Trigger also thrives in that aggression, and Trigger had a really impressive showing. Very well done. GG. GG, well played. Trigger takes on Maxpax. Hero takes on Björn. Hero and Björn, they always have a very fun series. Very fun series here. We'll be winding back to this. So Hero takes on Björn 2-1 in the best of 3. Does bring him down to advance on to semis. Rogue takes on Cure 2-0. Rogue having a very comfortable series is what I will say against Cure. Very impressive. And Classic takes on Gabe 2-0. Also having a very comfortable series. Hero Marine or Gabe having a bit of a harder time gaining any kind of a map control against Classic. Does go down early. With that, we had our semis. We had a Trigger, Hero, Rogue, and Classic. Hero takes on Trigger 2-1. Was a very intense, very close PvP. They did go back and forth, and this time Trigger was not able to cause the upset. Hero does advance on in his stead. Classic takes down Rogue. Classic, of course, he has been very hot as of late, has been looking very impressive. Takes down Rogue, and Classic takes the entire tournament 3-1 over Hero. Oh boy. Again, the PvP was very short. We had a lot of all-ins. A lot of intense games. It's always a lot of fun casting Hero and Classic. They often go back and forth. This time, Classic takes down Hero. GG. Impressive run. Impressive run here out of Classic. He wins the Little League Cup August monthly. Congratulations. Congratulations to Classic. Again, has been on a tear. That leads us into the Wardi TV Monday number 50. This is our first of many Urban Cups that we're going to be going through. Here we did have our typical players. We're missing a couple. No max packs. No max packs for this week's Wardi TV Monday. We had Hero, we had Classic, we had Clem, we had Showtime. We did have a Solar Creator and many, many others. If you heard me, I did mention how Hero and Classic often trade. They often go back and forth. We saw Classic take down Hero in Little League Cup. Here, Wardi TV Monday, Hero defeats Classic. again, they often go back and forth. They often just trade, they go back and forth. And Clem was able to pop off against Hero with a lot of mech. This has been, I mean, we've heard a lot from Clem as of late, but he has been playing a lot of mech against Protoss. He did mech the hell out of Hero, took him down 2-0, and then we had our grand final. Showtime popped off. Showtime took down Rebellion, Nightmare, and Solar as well. So really impressive performance here by Showtime. And even against Clem, Showtime, he was up 2-0. He was up 2-0 in this series, and Clem had a crazy comeback, winning 3 games in a row. So very impressive play there by Clem to pull off that comeback, and Showtime came so close, so close, barely didn't take the series. But regardless, I don't want to take away from Showtime because he did so well making it to the finals and almost beating Clem 3-0. Almost did 3-0 Clem, but in the end, Clem does claim it, so congratulations. That leads us into the Monday Night Weekly number 21. This was later on that evening. We did have, once again, a solid lineup of players. We had Clem, we had Bjorn, Solar. This time, MaxPax showed up. We had Hero as well, Creator, and Big Gabe. And many others, speaking of, in this tournament, we did have a Clem. Clem took down Nightmare 2-0, took down Beyond 2-0. Clem typically favored to go for deep runs in this tournament. I would say the first big upset here was Creator. He 2-0'd MaxPax. MaxPax, he fell to Trigger earlier. Here, he forced the Creator 2-0. Impressive performance there by Creator. Unfortunately, short-lived as he forced a Hero in the next round, but no shame in going down to Hero. And again, he took down MaxPax, so really well done there by Creator. As there is a lower bracket, so double elimination, they had another chance. Hero takes down Clem at 2-1, so big win there for Hero to bring down Clem. They often trade, they often go back and forth. They are, you know, the best players in the world. Clem, Hero, Classic, MaxPax, like they often go back and forth. This week, Hero takes down Clem. Meanwhile, in the lower brackets, MaxPax eliminated by Gabe. Gabe takes down MaxPax 1-0. Crazy. Then Bjorn takes down Gabe. Nightmare took down Solar, Creator, forced to Bjorn. And Clem, once again, he takes down Bjorn 3-0 in total. And we have the finals, where apparently Clem did decide to play some Protoss. I believe this is the first instance. Starting this week, Clem, he started playing Protoss. So he played Terran game 1, he lost. He lost with his Terran, then he switched to Protoss. And he was taking maps. Clem, he won game 2 versus Hero, then Hero fought back, then Clem took another map, and then Hero won the series. But for Clem to be taking maps off of Hero, it's impressive. It says something, right? Like Clem, historically, we spoke about this previously, but historically, Clem, we've been speaking about this all week, I should say. But Clem, historically, his weakest matchup has been PvP. The big reason why Clem never made the full switch to Protoss was the PvP matchup. That's the matchup that he was struggling in the most out of all the matchups. At least that's what he was quite vocal about, is that PvP. But it sounds like he has been working on it, right? Because of his issues with Terran versus Protoss, because of his dismay in that matchup, he has been playing more Protoss, has been working more on his PvP, to the point where he's taking down the best Protoss players in the world. Doesn't win against Hero, but did take maps. So very impressive Protoss play out of Clem. I didn't get to see the games, unfortunately, so I don't know. I can't quite confirm how those games went or how he approached them, but regardless, did make a series out of it. GG. Congratulations to Hero for claiming the win. Congratulations, as it leads us into this week's Sparkling Tuna Cup, the STC. We did have our weekly, we did have likewise a lineup of players. We had Bjorn, we had Geralt, we had Nightmare, we had Creator, we had Tasia as well. I know there were some people out there asking about Tasia. He was competing in SC Evolution, and you can see here he's also competing in StarCraft II. He had a really good series against Creator. We were lucky enough to cast, but Creator versus Tasia went all the way to the ace match. I was very impressed by Tasia's play. Tasia, he was playing mech. he was playing mech in TVP and finding success with it as well. In the end, Creator barely gets the win over Tasia. Nightmare shuts him down. Nightmare beat Creator in Monday Night Weekly, beats him here as well, and Bjorn was able to claim it all in that grand finals 3-1 over Nightmare. So impressive performance there by Bjorn. Bjorn, of course, he does grind these tournaments very regularly, and is this week's Tuna Cup champion. Really cool to see Nightmare having better results though. Nightmare, he did return from retirement not too long ago, and for him to regularly defeat players like Creator, and even in the previous tournament to take wins off of all these off of other like top players is impressive. And again, Nightmare's rate of improvement has been quite fast. So great to see him back, and I'm sure he's going to get better and better over time. With that, congratulations to Björn. That leads us into the Pigazor Cup number 47. We did have, again, a crazy run by Björn. I highly recommend the VODs. We had a banger of a semifinals. Björn versus Hero. Björn versus Hero went all the way to the ace match, and that was the series of the broadcast. 100%. The closest back and forth. We got a lot of late game. We have Björn popping off. I was very impressed by Björn. He takes down Hero 3-2. Hero did take down Björn in Little League Cup. Björn here gets his revenge over Hero in a longer best of 5. GG, well played. Again, this is unique to this tournament, but semifinals are best of 5s, not best of 3s. Here, MaxPax also gets his revenge over Creator. Remember, Creator, he beat MaxPax in Monday Night Weekly. A couple of days later, we see MaxPax beating Creator in Pigazor Cup. So they have a back and forth here. MaxPax does get his revenge, and MaxPax wins the entire tournament 3-1 over Björn. He had a much more dominant showing against Björn compared to Hero, much more solo play. Hero, he was playing around with like Stargate openers and it was being more aggressive and it was more chaotic. MaxPax, more standard play, shuts down Björn. GG. GG, well played. With that, MaxPax does claim the win. That leads us into Little League Cup. Little League Cup weekly number 5. Our most recent weekly. Here we also showcase players like Clem, we had Björn, Classic, MaxPax, Rogue, Hero, Geralt. Solo lineup. We had an insane run here. Not from who you would expect, by Geralt. Quickly scrolling down. Geralt, look at his run. He 2-0'd Showtime. He 2-0'd Hero. And he went down to MaxPax. I mean, sure, it's MaxPax, but Geralt, he popped off against Showtime and Hero. That was crazy, by the way. So very, very well done there by Geralt. Had a run that no one expected. It does end at the hands of MaxPax, but it's MaxPax. So again, it's understandable. Fully understandable there. And again, MaxPax does get the win over Geralt. GG, well played. Scrolling on up, we had Björn. Björn took down Classic 2-1. Very impressive. Clem defeats Björn. I'm sure Clem is very happy that he didn't have to play against Classic. I'm sure he's very happy with that. Takes down Shin, takes down Björn. Scrolling on up, we do have the finals, Clem versus MaxPax. But we had a really interesting finals, is what I will say. Clem was looking really strong. He was looking dominant. I'm still thinking about Tokamak. Tokamak was a game that Clem had won. Clem, he was pulling MaxPax apart. He was dealing brutal economic damage. He was forcing MaxPax into an all-in. Clem was getting further ahead. And MaxPax, as I mentioned, he was forced into an all-in. And he pushed, he committed. MaxPax was behind, and MaxPax, he barely clutched it out. And you could see Clem's frustrations. Unfortunately, after that game, he no GG'd out. There was a little bit of a break afterwards, and you could see the mental break for Clem, because right after that game on Tokamak, bam, he switched to Protoss. he switched to Protoss for the final game. It was like, no, Clem. We saw Clem play Protoss against Hero previously with mixed results. Here, just the one game against MaxPax, and Clem did not take it. He was looking really good, don't get me wrong. He was looking very impressive, but he was getting caught out. He fell behind. He was taking some massive stasis traps to the face. So he was having a really hard time against MaxPax, and MaxPax did claim the win at 3-2 over Clem. GG. In the end, defeating Clem's Protoss. So it does beat his Protoss at the end of the series. And with that, MaxPax claims another weekly this week. So very impressive. That leads us into the Wardi TV Summer Championship. This is the event that everyone was talking about in regards to Clem's Protoss play. We were already going over the group stage. I think the playoffs were underway last time we covered during the podcast. Quickly checking here, the 28th. I think they were in the lower bracket. I think they were in the lower bracket. So very quickly, MaxPax C3O's Cure. I think we already saw that. MaxPax C3O's Hero as well. Very impressive. I think we already saw that as well. In the end, Classic took down Clem 3-2. Again, Classic has been looking very dominant as of late. There's a reason why I mentioned earlier that I'm sure Clem was very happy that Björn beat Classic. Björn has had a very different approach to TVP. I actually prefer Björn's style. Björn, he often plays very bio heavy, very ghost heavy, and has been having a lot of success. That's how he's been beating people like Hero, like Classic. It's been really fun to see. Unlike Clem, who's been playing a lot of mech. Like Clem has been playing more mech against Protoss than Björn has, for example. Well, Björn has, he just doesn't touch mech against Protoss. He plays mech against Zerg, but not quite against Protoss. Clem, he did make a series out of it, went all the way to the ace match. Classic does beat Clem. Meanwhile, scrolling down, we had Clem facing off against MaxPax, and as you can see here, he did play Protoss, but only one game. So he played only one game against MaxPax in the weekly previously, in the League Cup. In Monday Night Weekly, he played more Protoss against Hero with mixed results. Here, he did win one game against MaxPax. So it feels like there's like a disingenuous narrative going around. I think a lot of people were saying that Clem won a series with his Protoss. That's not true. He won some games against Hero, and he won a game against MaxPax with his Protoss. He has yet to win a series with his Protoss. So I think there's some people that are just maybe blurring the narrative a little bit in regards to that, but impressive nonetheless for him to take a map off of MaxPax and for him to take some maps off of Hero as well with his Protoss. In the end, Clem did defeat MaxPax, and that led into the finals where, another example, where Classic, he took down Clem 4-0, and Clem actually played Protoss against Classic as well, and also lost. So Clem, his Protoss play has been very mixed. I think a lot of people, because Clem won one game against MaxPax, a lot of people have been hyping it up more than really it deserves to be. It's still really good, don't get me wrong, but Clem, is still definitely, from at least what we've seen casting it, is rough around the edges, a little bit more rough around the edges with his Protoss. But he's getting there. He's getting there with his Protoss. Enough for him to actually play Protoss in some of these tournaments. So it takes out MaxPax, but then it gets shut down by Classic. Again, Classic, I think most people would say that he's the best Protoss player in the world right now. Better than MaxPax, better than Hero. I would still, of course, Hero's a very different kind of player, so I think it's harder to I think you can have a discussion about Hero style versus Classic style. I think that MaxPax is more similar to Classic just because they're both a lot more mid-game oriented and just a little more standard in their play. Hero's more chaotic, so he's the other side of that kind of coin. He's the yin to the yang of Classic, whereas MaxPax is just more similar to Classic instead. But Classic does claim it 4-0. Congratulations to Classic for claiming the entire tournament and for being the Wardi TV Summer Champion. Congratulations, and a shout out to Clem as well. I hope Clem is okay when it comes to his mental. He's been playing or switching to Protoss quite a bit here in some of these matches, again with mixed results. Meanwhile, that leads us into Maestros of the game here. This is a big event that's going to be happening in France. It's going to have an offline portion, but the online portion just concluded last week. We just wrapped up with the preliminary stage. Oh boy, so this was to determine who would make it through into the group stage. We had Showtime over Cham. That was a crazy series, by the way. Cham was up 2-0. He had a crazy start. Cham, he was up 2-0, but it felt like Showtime kind of figured Cham out. Cham was playing the same. He was playing a very similar style of very aggressive, very aggressive, very roach heavy, very mid-game oriented, and over the course of the series, Showtime adapted to Cham, but he had a really good start. He had a really strong start, but Showtime does take down Cham 3-2. Then we had Ryung taking down Gumiho 3-0. Again, Ryung, arguably the best TVT in the world. So again, give him a Terran and Ryung, he will pop off. So Ryung takes down Gumiho 3-0. We had Zaun over Spirit 3-2. I was very surprised by Spirit's performance. Because Spirit has been less active as of late, I don't rate him as highly. So really cool to see him going to the ace match. Rogue takes down Mana 3-1. Shin takes down Creator 3-2. Very heartbreaking, very close series between the two of them. It's a shame they both faced off as they're both good friends. Trigger takes down Gabe 3-0. Bunny takes down Skillless 3-2. And Lambo over Estrella 3-1. So we have our confirmed players for the group stage, and this is going to be continuing later on tonight. I actually plan on sleeping just before the cast because we are going to be casting this on the channel. It is going to be in 4.5 hours time, so I got 4 hours to sleep. Let's go, baby, let's go. Group A, we have Classic, Raynor, Shin, and Trigger. 2 Protoss, 2 Zerg. Coming into this, Classic has to be a clear favorite to make it through. Raynor, I have a hard time with Raynor just because We all know he's in the Rift, Pappy. He's in the Rift right now, and I don't know how to rate him. Despite him being rough around the edges, despite him being rusty, is he still good enough to make it out of the group? I would say so, but I also don't want to take away from players like Trigger, who've been grinding this entire time and who've been gaining good results because of that. So I'm going to say Classic and Raynor tentatively, but it wouldn't be surprising if we see Shin or Trigger beating Raynor, to be honest. It wouldn't surprise me, but for now, Classic and Raynor are going to be my picks to make it through. Group B, we have Serral, Byun, Xian, and Ryung. If Ryung had more Terrans, I would favor Ryung here, but Serral's going to be coming in as a favorite player. I would say Serral and Byun. Byun has been looking very impressive in TVP and in TVT as well. So I lean towards Serral and Byun, but depending on who plays against who, quickly double checking here. Like if Xian somehow beats Byun in the first series, and if Serral beats Ryung, I can see Ryung eliminating Byun, 100%. I can see Ryung eliminating Byun in the elimination match. So if that happens, if they face off, I can see that happening for sure. For example, but if Byun beats Xian and if he never plays a TVT, then I can see him making it out in second place. It's there's definitely a lot of variables in Group B. So I'm going to be leaning towards Serral and Byun, but I can see some upsets happening there where I can see Byun not making it through. Regardless, best of luck. That leads us into Group C. We have Solar, Clem, Rogue, and Bunny. Clem is going to be coming in as the heavy favorite in this group. I want to say Clem and Solar coming out of Group C, just because Solar ZVZ has been impressing me more than Rogues. And I do favor Solar over Bunny as well, so I think it's a little bit more clear cut there, but best of luck to Rogue and Bunny. Rogue is always a lot of fun to cast in ZVZ. Always a lot of fun to cast. That leads us into Group D. Group D, we have Maru, Hero, Showtime, and Lambo. A much more varied group here. This is a harder one to call just because Maru has been very shaky this year. Throughout the entirety of 2025, if you're watching him in GSL, if you're watching him at DreamHack Dallas, and watching him at EWC, Maru, he definitely has been looking different compared to years past. So I'm less confident in Maru going far, but it is really cool to see Maru taking part in this tournament, just because he's a rare sight. He's a rare sight, and he often doesn't play in many tournaments outside of like these big offline events. So, I mean, there's going to be an offline portion at least, so really cool to see Maru competing here. I'm going to lean towards Hero and... I would say Hero and Maru, but I can see Showtime beating Maru, to be honest. So I'm going to lean towards Hero and Maru making it out of Group D, but I can see Maru struggling in those TVPs. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Like, Maru has been very one-note. He's been playing a lot of mech against Protoss recently. So I expect to see some mech out of Maru there against Hero and Showtime. But and also 2-base all-ins, for sure. That's what we're seeing. A lot of 2-base all-ins and mech out of Maru. But because of that, like, I think that there's maybe some preparation can be involved in regards to getting ready for Maru, because he's been a little bit more predictable as of late. But we'll see. We'll see regardless. Best of luck. Best of luck to Maru, Hero, Showtime, all the players in Group D, Group A, Group B, and Group C. Again, by the time the weekend ends, we will have our confirmed players into the playoffs. Oh boy, as the tournament is progressing. Again, in 4.5 hours time, I'm going to be live with Group A. I'm going to try to sleep as much as I can before that to be well rested and to be able to cover Group A. Going to be a lot of fun. Going to be hype. Going to be hype. Oh. Also, a big shout out to Steel Mold in the chat. 81 months, Pappy. Crazy, crazy. So many months. Thank you for the support, Pappy. Thank you for the support. But I believe that is going to be us wrapping up the events here. Again, a little bit less, a little bit lighter when it comes to the overall news for this week's podcast. But I'm happy to wrap this up a little bit early to just get some sleep and get ready for the next cast. We have a very busy schedule. Very busy schedule here this week, as we go from this event into the OSC mid-season playoffs as well. But otherwise, if you want to take part in some of these open cups, you can do so via the sign-up list, !sign-up list in the chat. We do have a sign-up list here that does give you a link to all these tournaments so you can take part yourself. It does give you a countdown timer as to when they begin, has links to sign-ups, has links to Matcherino, has links to, everything that's typically useful to you there are all available for those tournaments, and also even a breakdown of the prize pool, a breakdown of any restrictions, MR restrictions, or region restrictions as well. All is there via the sign up list, so do check that out. Otherwise, you can also support us via Patreon. As we were mentioning earlier at the start of the broadcast, we do have some Tuna Cup monthlies on the horizon, and you can help us make that a reality coming into 2026 by supporting us via Patreon. We had a very generous donation earlier yesterday, which allows us to host these monthly tournaments for the remainder of 2025. But if you want us to continue that in the future, then support on Patreon is what we would need to be able to crowdfund that ourselves, outside of just relying on donations. So looking forward to, regardless, thank you so much for all the support that we get via Patreon. If you want to help us grow our tournaments, then Patreon is the place to be. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. We do appreciate it. Again, I gotta go get some sleep before the Maestros of the game, before Group A. Oh boy, as we're gonna be featuring Classic versus Trigger and Rainer versus Shin. We'll see you then for the cast. Otherwise, thank you so much to Kuro. Kuro, of course, was handling the production side of things to make sure everything runs as smoothly as possible, and make sure I wake up for the cast. Oh boy. I'll do my best not to sleep in, Mappy, not to sleep in. Otherwise, thanks for watching, thanks for the support, and we'll see you guys next time. For some more PondCast, for some more news here in StarCraft, in the scene. See you next time. Ciao, Mappy, ciao. Hasta luego.